Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. We're excited to have you here at this really important Lunch and Learn today. My name's Connie. I'm the Executive Director of Detroit 2030 District. And for today, this meeting is being recorded and will be posted to our YouTube channel. A lot of people have interest in it, and you can pass it around or send somebody there if they couldn't make it today. Please let us know you're here by putting your name and company in the chat box. And please keep your camera and microphone off until our presenters are done. We have a large group today. We're super excited to have all of you here. And please put your questions into your chat box and we will field through those after each presenter, after all three presenters are done. And then that way we can kind of just get through the presentations and then get to our questions. So thank you so much for being here today. I'm just going to give you like a 3-4 minute overview of what's going on with 2030, and then we will get started with our presenters. We have some new people here today that haven't been to any of our meetings, so we just want to talk a little bit about where we came from. We've been running for about 7.5 years now in Detroit. Our program, 2030 Districts, really stemmed from the 2030 Architecture Challenge that was started by Ed Masria probably close to 10 years now, and he challenged architects to design and renovate buildings better to reduce emissions by reducing energy, water consumption, and transportation emissions. The very first district was Seattle, and it was launched in 2010 with the support of the DOE, and they made it replicable. So we have a great program now. We actually have 25 cities. Lansing has to be added to this. Lansing, Michigan is actually an emerging district. We're very proud of the Michigan representation in this network that is actually international, because we do have Greater Victoria and Toronto also in this wonderful network. In Michigan, as I mentioned, we've had 3 for a long time. Ann Arbor has extended to Washtenaw, which is exciting, and Lansing is an emerging district. So we're happy to say that we are the only state in the whole country that has more than 2, I think it is, districts. So we have very good representation at our network meetings. And who are we? What do we do? We have 3 member types. We are here for property owners and building managers. That's always been our purpose. Everything we do comes back to help them build a healthy building, understand what climate change means to their building. It has been a free program for all these years. It still is free for a building member in Detroit to belong to our program. We do have an additional paid level now that gives you some extra services, and which kind of involves a little bit of what we're talking about today. Businesses are our professional stakeholders, and in Detroit, we have over 40 businesses supporting this program. They are our professional stakeholders, and we thank them because we would not be here today without them. And then we have quite a few community stakeholders that have signed on with our pledge to create healthy buildings in Detroit. Those are our nonprofits, community stakeholders. You can find them on our website, and we have, I believe, probably about 45 or so of those now. This is our board of directors. As I mentioned, we've been together. We launched about 7.5 years ago, I believe, if I have my dates right. And we have pretty much some of the same people, but Al Vasquez, I'm proud to announce that he's our new chair. Leonard Harwell is our vice chair from Fishbeck, and you probably know many of these people on here today that all work towards having healthy buildings in the city of Detroit. And this is our team. We are growing. Kendall Kuhneman, who you will hear from today, is our senior program manager. There's Zara, Adam, and Brandy, all working to help our program. And then we have a new guest today, or a new person, Avi, who is a building data analyst, and he's our Michigan Healthy Climate Corps. And so we're excited to have him. In case you don't know, we have several programs. I can only go over a couple here, but if you are a building member with us, you can apply to have an EV charging station at your building. So if you have any questions on that, please let us know. You can go to our website and get your application started. In case you don't know, we do have monthly lunch and learns. This is our first one this year. We had a busy January and February, so we're excited to get started on our monthly lunch and learns. We have a great one coming up in April, which I'll show you in a minute. In case you didn't know, we have best practice groups, multifamily, houses of worship, and venue best practice groups. If you run any of these building types in the city of Detroit, you might want to find out about these groups that come together a few times a year to learn strategies specific to their building type. And it's just a great way to streamline best practices. And in case you didn't know, we do have a special house of worship treasure hunt group that every year we've had 2 cohorts, hopefully having a third this fall, where we take about 4 to 5 houses of worship in Detroit and really work with them for a good 6-7 months to learn everything and anything to do with a healthy building. And these are the partners that help us run this program. And in case you go to our YouTube channel, the EPA did a special video on this program for our house of worship, so you can watch that there. Save the date. Thursday, June 13th is our awards breakfast, where we give awards out to the biggest losers. It's the Detroit Energy Challenge that we launched a few years ago. This is a wonderful breakfast that we have at the Zero Net Energy Center, IBEW in Corktown. Same place, same time. Here are some pictures from a couple years ago. It's just a great event. Super excited to have it still running. If you're a building owner, you want to get your energy data in to be qualified for that, you can talk to Kendall. I think we kind of passed the deadline, but it doesn't mean you couldn't be in next year. We just want to thank our businesses that support us. You can see some of the logos here. We also have a whole lot more of other stakeholders. So I can't fit them all in here right now, but we have a lot of members. So thank you for joining us and supporting this program. And then we have a lot of community partners, which you can see the full list on our website. So here we are today. We did launch in 2017, and we are at over 62 million square feet. This should probably say 2024. I think we're at 62 and a half, but we are the 3rd largest district by square foot of all 25 districts. Our annual report is finally out. It can be found on our website. It is a flip book, so you could take a look at that if you want. And just want to thank everybody for attending our fundraiser that we had in January at the Masonic Temple, Detroit. It was phenomenal. We had some great sponsors. We had a silent auction for the first time, so it was great. We hope to see you at it next year. Just want to plug the Energy Summit coming up in May 8th, and that's on the west side of Michigan. And we do that in coordination with USGBC and Grand Rapids 2030, the Michigan Energy Summit, where they get awards, statewide awards for the biggest loser. And this coincides with the Detroit Energy Challenge. Coming up April 19th is our Earth Month Lunch and Learn. We're going to cover reduce, reuse, and recycle. And we have some great speakers. We hope that you will join us. You can find a link to get your ticket on our website in a couple days. Keep your eyes open for that. And how do you get involved? You can add a building into our program. You can sponsor an event, become a professional stakeholder, or volunteer. And please follow us on social media. So that is the end. I'm going to stop sharing. That was a really quick overview of what we've been up to. And right now I'm really proud to announce our first speaker, Maria, from the city of Detroit. And Maria is going to share her screen and we will listen to her. So welcome, Maria. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Connie. Can you guys hear me well?
Yeah.
Amazing. Yes. Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Maria Galarza. I am Deputy Director at the Office of Sustainability for the City of Detroit. I'm really excited to give the first presentation, one of many that will come as we roll out information for the benchmarking ordinance and how the Office of Sustainability will be helping in administering and educating the public on it. So the office, as you might have seen today, is going through some transitions. We have a new director that has just been announced. Tefira Rushton who was our urban ag director, is now our new director of sustainability. So we're really excited. Some of this work is already kind of rolling out, so there should be no impact. And I am primarily sort of your point of contact, and I've been working closely with my colleague Safa Sablini, and we have been sort of deep into the energy space. I'm also a registered architect in the state of Michigan, so I deeply understand the buildings and building envelopes. I've done work in commercial, higher ed, design and construction. So definitely can relate to all of my building, construction, building users, and building managers. So a little bit about the office and the work and the mission that we are, that's driving a lot of the policy and projects. In November of last year, the city published the Detroit Climate Strategy, which focuses on sort of the key priorities to drive greenhouse gas emissions down for the city of Detroit. At the same time, we were celebrating the approval of the benchmarking ordinance, which was approved unanimously by City Council on the same date. The key focus areas for the climate strategy are transitioning to clean energy, increasing sustainable mobility, accelerating energy efficiency and reducing waste, and prioritizing vulnerable residents and increasing resiliency. There's 35 actions that are within our strategy. And for today, the key action that we've actually met through the passage of the benchmarking ordinance is the first action under accelerating energy efficiency. So benchmarking is definitely one of those key foundational steps to start driving that energy efficiency up and reduce costs. Part of the work for the strategy is obviously understanding where we are as a city in terms of greenhouse gas emissions. In 2018, we came in at 10 million metric tons of CO2e for the entire city, and 62% actually are in the building sector for the emissions. 39% of those are within our commercial and industrial buildings. Therefore, the first phase of this benchmarking ordinance rollout is really geared towards the buildings that are 100,000 square feet or larger. A little bit of context, this work is not new. Across the nation, there are benchmarking policies and regulations that have emerged both at the local level and at the state level. So we are one of two cities in Michigan. Ann Arbor passed their benchmarking ordinance on October 2021. We have a good relationship with them and have talked about sort of how they have rolled out their benchmarking ordinance and some of the pain points that they've experienced throughout. So we have good information. We've also talked to other cities across the nation, both that have passed and not passed ordinance, to learn about their voluntary efforts. As Connie mentioned, we're really lucky to have a 2030 district here in Detroit. There's already about 100 buildings that meet the 100,000 square foot threshold that are already voluntarily tracking their energy. So that's good news for you if you have been already engaged in that work. So now coming into sort of the good stuff and the ins and outs of our policy for the city of Detroit. Starting this year on October 1st, building owners of 100,000 square feet or greater will be required to report their data for the year of 2023 to the city of Detroit. All of the reporting will take place through the Energy Star Portfolio Manager. So if you have an account already, you are in a good space to start becoming compliant. If you don't yet have an account, we will have information and resources on how to create one and tutorial and webinars coming up. In addition to those private buildings greater than 100,000 square feet, The City of Detroit municipal portfolio is also required to report energy and water usage for our building portfolio greater than 10,000 square feet. We have identified already that that's about 75 buildings for us. And in the private sector, we have identified about 720 buildings that will need to comply. In the second phase of the rollout, which will take sort of the due date will be in 2025. We expect the same buildings that will be reporting this year will have to then report data for 2024. And in addition, we are adding buildings that are 25,000 square feet or larger into that reporting date. Moving forward, June 1st will be the date for which all buildings will be required to submit their data through Energy Star Portfolio. So keep that in mind. This first year is a little unusual as we roll it out in phases, but moving forward, June 1st will be the key date. The ordinance also stipulates that there has to be a way of show how we're doing in terms of compliance. That's called transparency. There's no building owner action needed necessarily. This is something the city will take on and publish a map on who's compliant and who's not compliant. The ordinance does have an enforcement mechanism, which includes a blight ticket or a financial fine for not reporting data. It's our intention to have really good compliance numbers in the first 2 years, and we hope not to redirect any building owners to the blight ticketing on the first 2 years. We will be tracking the information very closely to make sure that folks are complying and sending sort of warnings for any buildings that have not met that deadline and help them get there. There is an example of what a map could look like. It's already in the chat. That is how Denver is sort of showcasing the transparency portion of the ordinance. As you can see, it's really a compliant, not compliant, or waived designation. So the intent here is not to show how much energy each building is using, but over time, we are hopeful to work very closely with the building owner community to begin to understand how can energy efficiencies can be found through the tracking of this energy. So we have been hard at work preparing resources as we roll this out. We expect to have our website fully up starting April 2nd. The website will be there as a resource on demand, and it will host tutorials in the form of videos. We've also developed user guides in the form of PDFs and checklists to make sure you know exactly what's needed for you to be compliant. We will also have an interface in which you can submit questions or ticketing if you run into any issues. And we also have a tool where you can look up whether your building needs to comply and in which phase you need to comply in. In addition to that resource that will always be there and available for you, we will have a scheduled events and workshops. We know that although there's tutorials out there, it's always nice to talk to a human. And we have a great team supporting us, everyone from the EPA Region 5 to Midwest Energy Alliance have come forward to assist us with data jams, which means, walking people through inputting their information. and provide any troubleshooting. We will also host office hours weekly and have available time for phone calls. And we're saying walk-ins, but really we're hoping to keep most of this virtually. We will assess the situation if there's a need for like in-persons. And then we do hope to roll out workshops or collaborate with the 2030 district to really support the building owners based on those typologies. So we can all learn from each other and work towards our shared goals. So really the intent for this policy and the work that's happening nationally is to ensure that everyone's tracking sort of their consumption. That's really step number one. We can't change what you don't measure. So starting with measuring our usage is really important. Tracking is really a very simple way and a simple step that can unlock energy efficiency potential in your buildings. And although we're very focused on reducing that usage, that really in turn reflects the savings in your operation costs. The third very important goal that we have, for Detroit is to ensure that we meet our GHG reduction goals. We have very aggressive goals that we need to meet, and we can definitely start chipping away at it if we take energy efficiency seriously, including improving building performance generally. So I know that was a lot of information. This is meant to be a very general overview of the rollout. As I mentioned, we will have subsequent opportunities where more information around, the platform Energy Star portfolio will be discussed, and hopefully you'll learn some of the resources that 2030 and DTE will have available to perform this work. We have created a website link. So you can either go to the city's website and search for benchmarking. Don't do that yet. As I mentioned, the website won't be live until about April 2nd. But our email is live already, and it's going to be benchmarking@detroitni.gov. We're really excited to roll this out, and yeah, I'm excited to hear your questions and my fellow presenters' information for resources on how to roll this out. Thank you so much. I can't hear Connie. Connie, I think you're muted.
Connie, you're muted.
Thank you. Thank you, Maria. I would like to introduce our next speaker now is Kendall Kuhneman, who's the Senior Program Manager at Detroit 2030 District, to talk a little bit about our program and how we can help with the benchmarking ordinance. Go ahead, Kendall.
Thanks, Connie, and thank you, Maria. It is still snowing out there. I'm surprised, but thank you for joining us today. I'm going to talk about the benchmarking program that's been underway for the past 7+ years. This is the benchmarking program that Detroit 2030 District has been running. Has been a voluntary program prior to the ordinance. So I just wanted to go through information about the 2030 District, what we do to support our building members, and talk a little bit about some of the tools that are available. And also just a brief overview. I think the city will be touching on this more in the near future on what the process actually looks like for complying. So you already heard from Connie, but we've grown, and we have almost 500 buildings now that are enrolled in our program. But the thing I want to focus on, besides the 62 million square feet, are that we have almost 450 buildings that are now tracking their energy data consistently from year to year in Energy Star Portfolio Manager. So those buildings are already set up and ready to comply with the city's ordinance. I also wanted to talk about who our building members are and a little bit more about our program, because some people may not be familiar. But since we launched, we've offered a free membership to any building owner or manager in the city of Detroit. So this slide just shows a little bit about what is included with that free membership and the things that we can help our building members with. In January of this year, we did launch a new optional building member program. It is a paid program where we can offer our building members who need additional assistance with a variety of things listed here, which would include compliance with the ordinance, creating an Energy Star account and building profile, connecting with the DTE HUB, which I'll talk a little bit about, and Tamika will be presenting next on, and a little bit about the Detroit Energy Challenge and Battle of the Building. So this is an optional membership that we offer. That's $500 per building, but we do have a nonprofit and house of worship membership at $350 per year. One of the things we are also, another program that we're running and that we help our building members with is the Detroit Energy Challenge. So this is brought to Detroit in partnership with us, the City of Detroit Sustainability Team, and the Michigan Battle of the Buildings. And we are now in our third year. Connie mentioned we're going to be having an awards breakfast June 13th. And anyone who's interested in participating, the deadline has passed. However, this is something that continues year after year. So we encourage anyone who's interested to enroll today. Even if you're not going to be participating this year, your building will be enrolled for the following. And I just briefly wanted to talk about benchmarking efforts. So I mentioned the 2030 district launched in 2017, and since then has been running a voluntary benchmarking program. The Detroit Green Task Force, the Energy Waste Reduction Committee, formed in 2018 and started focusing efforts on what a benchmarking ordinance would look like in the city of Detroit. And then Ann Arbor became the first city in Michigan to adopt a benchmarking ordinance. And Detroit became the second city in Michigan last fall. And this is just a brief recap of what Maria already stated. But again, this ordinance impacts commercial and multifamily buildings. The data that's required to be submitted is whole building aggregate energy and water use data. This October 1st, buildings that are 100,000 square feet or greater are going to be required to submit their energy and water usage for the 2023 calendar year. And then every year after that, required to submit the prior year's data by June 1st. But next June, the second phase of the ordinance brings on smaller buildings, and those are the buildings that are 25,000 square feet or greater, and they'll be required to report their data from the 2024 calendar year. So just wanted to recap that because I know it's a lot of information to absorb. And just collectively, like what we're all hoping to achieve from the work that the 2030 district does, the work that the city's doing. Overall, we're trying to increase the resilience of the Detroit community, reduce operating costs for our building owners, increase the number of buildings that are actively managing their energy use, and also connecting owners with energy efficiency strategies, decreasing greenhouse gas emissions, and making sure we understand what the energy and cost burdens are and direct benefits to those that may need them the most. And it does work. This is an older slide, but I think it's still very relevant that US cities who have benchmarking policies typically see a 3 to 8% reduction in energy use across participating buildings. And that's not necessarily because they're doing improvements, but it's just because they're paying closer to attention to their energy and tracking their consumption. So I wanted to briefly talk about compliance, and a lot of these are borrowed from the EPA on what a benchmarking compliance process typically looks like for most cities. So there's 3 basic steps, and that includes collecting your building energy data and inputting that data and then reporting it to the city. So I just wanted to kind of briefly cover this. And again, there will be more information rolling out from the city on this shortly. So the platform that's typically used to submit your data to the city, which is also an industry standard for benchmarking commercial buildings, is the EPA's free tool called Energy Star Portfolio Manager. I'm sure many of you are familiar with this. This is what the Detroit 2030 district uses to help our building members track their energy and water data. And so this is a free resource. Anybody can create a free account and create a building profile or multiple building profiles under their account and start tracking their data, their building's data. So the first step is creating your account, but then you want to collect specific building information. And this is based on your building type. So the EPA has a place on their website where you can select what your building type is and then download the data collection worksheet. So this is a good way to get started, is by getting that data collection worksheet and understanding what data is required versus what's optional for you to be able to create your building profile. So this is a good first step. The next step, once you've created your account and you've created your building profile, is to input your building energy and water data. So there's 3 ways you can do it. You can manually enter your data by looking at your previous year's energy bills, or you can download a template spreadsheet from Energy Star Portfolio Manager and enter your data into that spreadsheet and do a bulk upload all at one time. Or you can have your data automatically upload into your building profile. And that's why Tamika's here to talk about the DTE Hub. So a lot of utilities across the US are working with local jurisdictions that have benchmarking ordinances and building performance policies to find ways to better streamline the energy data and automate the energy data to Energy Star Portfolio Manager so that their customers can more easily comply with that local government's policy. So the DTE energy data, it's still in a pilot phase, but it's currently only available to the building members of 2030 districts in Detroit, Ann Arbor, and Grand Rapids while it's in its pilot. And Tamika will talk more about this. But what it offers is aggregate, multi-tenant, commercial, and residential building electric and gas usage. So this hub connects your DTE energy data directly to the Energy Star Portfolio Manager account, so you don't have to do any manual input of the data. It also provides 2 years of historic data, and on a monthly basis continues to update. There is an option to include cost data as well. So the third step, and this is where information from the city will get more specific about what this looks like, but this is just, like I said, these are borrowed from the EPA on what this process looks like in Energy Star. But once you have your Energy Star account, your building profile is created, and all of your energy data and water data is in, you can share your property through Energy Star Portfolio Manager with the jurisdiction's account. So that would be the City of Detroit account. And this is, there's a process where you'll get a data request and you'll be able to connect with the city and submit your data through Energy Star. So this is just a snapshot of what that data request looks like in Energy Star Portfolio Manager. This example is from Atlanta. And again, I borrowed this from a training that the EPA did and continues to do. So just to recap, this is an example of some of the building information that might be needed to create your building profile. So once you create your account and you've gathered all the information on your building and you create your building profile and enter your data, you are ready to connect and comply with the ordinance. So the EPA has a ton of training opportunities available on a monthly basis, and everything's posted online. They have Ask the Expert. They also have Portfolio Manager 101, 201, 301, where you can, if you need additional support, they have a lot of resources available. They also have this beginner's guide to using Portfolio Manager for benchmarking law compliance, which is where a couple of my slides, I took snapshots from those resources. So I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware. And lastly, I have 2 more slides and then I'll turn it over to Tamika. But I wanted to share this because some folks may be interested, some may not. But the Detroit 2030 district is working with an organization called Clearly Energy, which has designed a platform called BEAM, which stands for Building Energy Analysis Manager. And this is designed to help jurisdictions manage benchmarking policies. And so a number of years ago, the Detroit 2030 district started utilizing this platform for our voluntary program. And so this is something that we will help help with our building members in managing their compliance with the city's ordinance. So I won't get into all the specifics here because I want to make sure we have time for questions after Tamika's presentation. But if you have any questions at all, reach out to me anytime and I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Kendall. Lots of information in case you someone wants to know, we are recording this. It will go to our YouTube channel, so you will be able to view it again. So our next presenter, I'm happy to announce, is Tamika. She is a board member of the Detroit 2030 district and has been working on this DTE Hub since it started, I believe. So Tamika, if you want to share your screen, we can listen to what you have to tell us. Okay, screen looks good, but you are muted.
Everything just went haywire at the same time.
I believe it.
All right. Again, my name is Tamika Banks. I am the principal supervisor for Energy Partnership for the Energy Services team. My team has been working in the field for several years, and the biggest question we would get asked is, how can we access our data electronically? So initially, this pilot was geared out of providing data, your utility data to customers electronically, and also as a lead generator for my team to be able to look to see which of those companies had energy efficiency opportunities. And out of that, in our investigation, we came across this tool presented by Calico Energy that provided an automated solution for customers to access their utility data electronically. So as Maria mentioned in her presentation, that you can't change what you don't track. And tracking is the essential, simple tool that you can use as your guide to energy efficiency. So out of that, we created this, we have the DTE Energy Data Hub. And it's an automated solution that we've been piloting for the past couple of years to help multi-tenant and owner-occupied building owners automate their data or access their data electronically. We've been in a partnership, as Kendall said, with the 2030 district since we started the pilot in second quarter of 2021. Part of the benefits of the automated approach is that we can look at data aggregation. So if you are a multi-tenant building owner, it gives you the opportunity to look at your building data as a whole instead of individually by meters. We have the ability to submit your data to the Energy Star Portfolio Manager, so that now not only do you see you have your submission tool to meet now the benchmarking ordinances that's in place for Ann Arbor and Detroit, but you also have scoring purposes to see how you stack up against other building types within your industry. And then additionally, there's some data insights that you can use with the visualization from the tool, and you can download the same data and you can do some additional building level pursuits. So the benchmarking, the broad set of buildings that we look at is multifamily, residential, mixed use commercial and residential, multi-tenant commercial, and owner-occupied commercial buildings. So you can see the representation that there's There's multiple meters, there could be a singular meter, but at this rate, at this level, we can aggregate the whole building data so that you're able to see what your building is generating as far as utility usage. And as a note, building owners that have 6 or more tenants, we can aggregate their building data without having tenant consent. It's less cumbersome to manipulate the data, if you will, to try and calculate which individual tenant is producing what usage amount. Anybody that has 5 or less tenants will have to have a consent form to release that data. And with all of the data, we do ask for customer consent so that we are able to release the data to Calico so that we can share the data on the platform. But also, if you're, for example, a property management company, you're not the building owner, but we have the permission of the building owner to share that data with you. So the basic fundamentals of the site is as I said before, you can aggregate the building data. There's tenant unit verification. There's visualization for energy usage year over year. And there's an automatic submission to Energy Star Portfolio Manager. So this is the home screen of what you would see for the Energy Data Hub. We have 2 ways for you to log in. So if you have a DTE Energy account, you can just log in with dteenergy.com. It'll route you back to the DTE website. You can put in your username and password for the DTE Energy account. It gives you access. For those of you who don't have a DTE Energy account, you can log in with an email address, but that profile is created by someone on my team. So this is the dashboard that greets the user upon login. So you will have the dashboard in the building. If there's any pending requests, it'll be off to your right. If you have more than one building, all those buildings will be listed here. And then you'll have a tab that if you wanted to download your usage data, you'll be able to download your usage data. As a building owner, you can click through the navigation screen. Building owners, you can submit to see the status, if it's an active building, who's listed on that building, who has access to that building profile. You'll also see your Energy Star score and the EUI, your energy usage intensity, if you have that building connected to Energy Star. You can sort if you have multiple buildings. You can sort by building name or the building address. And you'll be able to click on a building to see what that building's usage is. This will be your visualization of what you will see when you log in for that building. So this particular grocery store, Detroit Grocery, has 16,750 gross floor square feet. Don't have an Energy Star score, but it's in food sales. But you can see the visualization for the output for 2018, 2019, and 2020 for electric. The same visualization would be there for gas if DTE is your gas customer, gas account holder. And then you'll be able to download your usage data. You'll be able to see who the users are, if there's any pending user requests, or you can enter user requests, and you can verify your tenant information at the top. As I stated, this is your usage request. So if there is a pending usage request, there needs to be at least one, and there's no end date, so that there's it will constantly upload every month. There's a month delay in the visual in what is produced, uploaded to the site. We want to take into account everybody's billing date is different. So we want to make sure that we're pushing the most recent data, and if there's any changes or corrections that needed to be made on your account, we have that month delay to make those corrections and upload that information to the account. Tenant verification. So if you're a multifamily residential property management company, or if you have a multi-tenant commercial building, you can come in and verify the data completeness of your tenants. This would be your way of looking at making sure that we've identified all of the units that is in your building. Sometimes it could be where we're missing one or two, or this unit isn't in your building. It may be your neighbors that's kind of close, but it's still being pulled in as part of that tenant information. But we want to make sure that you get the opportunity to reject and to verify your tenant information before the data is populated into the Data Hub. Again, this is the viewing of the downloaded data. You'll be able to see the graphical representation, how 2019 was a peak year, used more than 2018, and then it came back down in 2020. We all know what happened in 2020, but there's observations that you can make, and if there's some additional information that you want to pull or some additional calculations, you're able to do that by downloading the usage data, and you'll have that in a CSV file where you can continue to do some additional calculations on your end. And as I stated before, you'll be able to upload your data to Energy Star Portfolio Manager. This is something that's not done automatically. You would have to, as the building owner, would have to make that connection to Portfolio Energy Manager. There's directions within the website that guides you on the steps that need to be taken to make sure that you're connecting to Energy Star Portfolio Manager. From there, you'll be able to pull the Energy Star score, the EUI, the gross floor, and the primary function of the building. My team uses that information to identify those buildings that may have energy efficiency opportunities. So anybody that may have an Energy Star score that's less than 60, there's an opportunity for energy efficiency that you may not be aware of, and that my team will probably reach out to you to see if there's ways that we can help you get that score up. User management. So anytime you need to update information as far as your email address or phone number, you can click on the blue, the two initials in the upper right-hand corner, and you'll be able to update that information. And that's pretty much, in essence, what the Energy Data Hub is. It's pretty straightforward. We try to make it as user-friendly as possible so that customers are able to access their data electronically, and that they have the ability to send that data over to Energy Star Portfolio Manager. As Kendall said, we've worked with the 2030 district on with their customer base to provide them with access to the Data Hub as part of a pilot. We're looking to offer the service to the DTE service territory later in Q3, so that everyone will have the opportunity to upload their data and to be able to track their data and make those energy efficiency opportunities as they see fit. And with that, that concludes my portion of the presentation. I'll turn it over to you, Connie.
Great, thank you, Tamika. 3 great presentations, a lot of information. Just want to take a minute to remind you this is being recorded. So if you missed something, you can go back and listen. And there were a few questions. I think all of them got answered, but I'm going to review them really quickly anyways. First one was Shannon asked if this included water data, and the answer is yes, in the ordinance. And Maria and Kendall and Tamika, jump in if you have any extra comments on that. Faye asked, oh, go ahead, Maria.
Yeah, I was just going to add that similar to Tamika, we have partners with Detroit Thermal and our DWSD partners that will be providing information on how to get that data for your building. So that is coming up.
Great. Okay, Faye also asked if you can participate voluntarily. And Kendall, I think you answered that question. That she can, she's a smaller building, but wants to know if she can still participate.
Yep.
And the answer is yes. Scott asked about an ordinance number that was put in there. Zara posted that up there. So thank you, Zara. And Gerald asked about how we were gonna get the news out and more information out to people who are not 2030 district members. First of all, this meeting was open to a lot of people who aren't members. But Maria and Zara have been working on how they're going to promote this throughout Detroit. If you want to say a couple words, Maria, on what your plan is there.
Yeah, so our focus is definitely building owners that need to comply. So we will be sending out postcards to each of the buildings and the building owners. For folks that are not sort of in that threshold of compliance, I think the 2030 district is a great convener. We'll also sort of have partners with USGBC and other folks that sort of care about building performance that, I would encourage you to sort of get plugged in. We have a pretty small team right now, and we're not able to sort of convene more regular stakeholder groups just yet. But we're definitely working very closely with partners. So I would encourage you to, subscribe to the newsletter that 2030 has at their events, because they're all free and we just shared the same community. So
Thank you. Yeah, we've been doing this for a long time. Our members that are with us are familiar with how we help them gather their data, as Kendall went through. So we are here to assist our building owners. If you're interested in joining us, I'm just going to share my screen really fast and show you where you can go to join 2030. So this is our website, and you just go up here to join us, and you will complete this form. It's a building member form. We have almost 500 buildings in our program. So it's a quick form here that you go to, and you complete this, and you can choose whether you want the free program or the paid program. It's if you pay, it's a year service for us to help you. It's a great, reasonably priced program to help any building type in the city of Detroit, including houses of worship and multifamily. So I just wanted to mention that. And I think that's all we have. I don't think I've missed any questions in the box. No, I think I got everything. So thank you, everybody, for attending. It was a lot of information, first of many, I'm sure, informational sessions to come. Let us know if you have any questions. Kendall's here, I'm here, Maria's here, Tamika's here. We got lots of help for anybody who has any questions in the city of Detroit. And before we go, I'm going to put the link in right now for our April 19th Lunch and Learn. I hope you can attend. It's a special Earth Month on reuse, reduce, and recycling. And yes, Gerald is asking if we're working with GWSD and the Great Lakes Water Authority. Yes, we're still working on. I know Kendall's going to be working on getting water data too. So keep posted on that. And so I think that's going to end our program for today. Thank you for attending. And this will be posted on our YouTube channel later today. Thank you, speakers. Thank you, Tamika, Kendall, and Maria. Have a good day, everybody.
Great job, everyone. Have a good one.